So Daniel, introduce your case study. What are you going to talk to us about? What is the situation? And set us up for the rest of the case study.
Okay, so we're talking today about the case study I said with the online retailer. We tested Performance Max. We got a certain result, and we had to make decisions based on that, and quick decisions, because the results that came back were not really promising. And I would like to go introduce you to the brand, go through what the brand went through with very unfavorable results, have to find the solution, what the solution was, and how the result looked like.
Okay.
That's what
the class is a little mixed with respect to the expertise. Yeah. So PMax is one of the Google's products. So Google has a bunch of products, like Google has the search, which is their primary product. And then they have shopping, and then they have something, YouTube, of course, and they have something called PMax, which is a new kind of product that blends inventory from all these products and allows you to buy all of them just in one line item. Okay. It's the idea of like, you don't have to think about it. You just give us money. We'll spend your money as effectively as it can be spent, kind of a promise. But results have been patchy throughout the industry. Okay, that's the case study Daniel's going to walk through. But before we jump in, any questions, any setup, anything specific you want him to unpack for you? Going once, going twice. Okay. Floor is yours, Daniel. Go for it.
Where is the? You share my screen with you.
You should be able to.
Yeah. Yep. So you see the case study in front of you? Yeah.
Yes, we do. Yes.
So that's anyway the least interesting slide. So so we're talking about an online retailer. It's a private equity owned retailer. Since 2020, it's an e-commerce only brand. All stores closed, and all of their growth is tied solely to efficiency. As you can imagine, they had a tough time in 2020, also with stores. So they went into bankruptcy, Chapter 11, and decided to start only as an online brand. Therefore, efficiency is absolute key. That's why I was brought in to help with efficiency for their teams. Madan just talked about it. We have a very diversified portfolio. I'm personally a big fan of testing. When new advertising products come out, that's my nature in general. Like, I want to know how things are working, and it also gives you a competitive edge. If there's a new product launching by Google, Facebook, Criteo, you name it, I'm always with my teams at the forefront of testing. Actually, fun fact, for Google Discovery, my team was the first team that ever tested Google Discovery worldwide. So Fabletics was the first brand to run on it. Google launched last year Performance Max. Madan just said it. It's in theory an amazing product. It's an amazing product. Mimics a little bit what Meta did a couple of years ago. If you remember, like many years ago, you had either Instagram or Facebook, and you had to decide where you want to place your ads. Then Facebook said, okay, that's not happening anymore. We find for you the user who is willing to buy with you at the right time, at the right place. And the right place could be either on Facebook, desktop, or on mobile with Instagram. Google delivered a similar promise, say, no matter where you are you on search, Discovery, Gmail, YouTube, Google will find the right audience for you, show your ad, and with a high likelihood, very high conversion rate. Everything is, sorry, I heard the question. No, okay. So it's a one size fits all model. So we tested it right away. We wanted to be in the forefront. Usually you have the competitive edge of like a couple months. Yeah. So it was great. And we tested it. Yeah. Our ROAS, we decided for the brand, or we have set for the brands as around 4-ish. Yeah. Could be a little bit higher, can be a bit lower. There's some strategic implication on certain channels, scalability, and so on, that decides where we invest our channels. And you probably have seen that slide where you said, okay, we cut our budget, we reduce, either we hold or we actually scale. So in our first test, Google in-platform ROAS came back surprisingly low. That changed over time, but we also tested in total 6 times Performance Max for this brand and for its sister brand. And the brand I'm talking about came back actually with the highest incrementality we did 2 tests for this brand between 19 and 26%. The sister brands were actually even lower. That was between 12 and I believe 19% or 18% were the sister brands. Why is there a big difference between 19 and 26%? So when we tested the first time in 19, there were not a lot of things you could change and in the settings for Performance Max. Over time, Google introduced a little bit more, heard the feedback from advertisers. And for example, in the second test, you could say, please only go after new customers. You could exclude some audience, but that was a tiny change, but that made the jump us to 26%. Just to put this into perspective, like in average Facebook prospecting incrementality is between 45 and 60, 70%. So that's already significantly lower. And we tested smart shopping in the past. Yeah, that was the shopping product that was available before, but was sunsetted with the launch of Performance Max. Smart shopping was around between the brands I tested between 60 and 70%. So around the third of what we have seen in the past. So, and I quote my father-in-law here. It's like he always asked me, he's a businessman, he always like, what's the risk of this investment and what's the reward? Unfortunately, as you see and if you heard, with that low percentages, it's not really an option to continue spending with such a high low ROAS and fairly high budget on a tactic like Performance Max. I will talk about it later. I strongly believe in the idea of Performance Max. It's a great idea, and it unfortunately not executed well yet, but I'm also very convinced it will be. Yeah, but for the time, that was not an option for the brand, and I show you why. If you look at what's, if you will call it, the competition, yeah, Meta, for example, yeah, they post an in-platform ROAS of 8, but when we tested it, yeah, we came close to the 4. Display, generally, lots of question mark on my end on display, yeah, on programmatic display in general, came back with a 5.5 incremental ROAS. These are all channels we would invest more and we would scale. But what Google showed us with the first test, we had to decide we have to move away. So
Daniel, just go back for a second. This is such a beautiful articulation, right? See how Daniel has kind of lined up all the channels. They're in-platform ROAS, the platform ROAS, $3, $8, $19, such different ROAS numbers. If you remember our very first class, we talked about how each platform reports their attribution in their own currency. Now you can't just take whatever they report as their results because they're widely different as to what the data scope is, and what is the attribution methodology, if it's statistically adjusted, what is the cross device graph, all that stuff. It goes into their in-platform attribution, and you can see how display has a $19 ROAS but drops to $5 after testing, and then Meta has $8 ROAS, drops to like about 3.8. And then similarly, and Google PMax goes from 3 to 0.6, right? It's a beautiful kind of articulation that Daniel has put together where he can now compare channels in a portfolio on an apples to apples basis. You could not have compared it on a platform ROAS basis, but you can compare it on an incremental basis or an advanced attribution basis. And that really unlocks your ability to make decisions in a portfolio-wide fashion, and which is kind of what Daniel's doing. Now he's using that to make allocation decisions. Okay. Sorry, Daniel, keep going.
No, please chime in anytime. So as I mentioned, with these lower ROAS, high CPOs, and definitely also high budgets we had for shopping, the brand could not operate efficiently anymore. So there was a need for another tactic to invest and grow the business. We could not go back to smart shopping because with the launch of Performance Max, smart shopping was sunset. However, there was still the option to test standard shopping. Standard shopping is the first shopping product that Google introduced many years ago. And fortunately, that was not sunsetted. And as I mentioned, we have a diversified portfolio which leads heavily into shopping tactics and paid social. And here in this case, we invested 32% of the marketing budget into shopping tactics. At the beginning, smart shopping, later than Performance Max. Now knowing that high investment doesn't result in a lot of incremental revenue, put the pressure on us. And so we designed a test setup to replace Performance Max with standard shopping. And we defined our anchor markets. In this case was New Jersey, Connecticut, New York, Florida, Texas, Illinois, and California. And in order to find out if Google shopping, standard shopping, is going to be better or worse than PMax, we had the test market where we didn't run anything in Oregon, Ohio, Virginia, and North Carolina. That was our goal, to find a replacement for 30% of our investment, which is a challenge, because if we would not find anything, that would be really, really a problem, especially going into the holiday season. Luckily, standard shopping came back with more than 90% incremental revenue contribution. That's an amazing result. Generally speaking, very generally speaking, and I'm pretty sure Madana has mentioned that in some of the classes, Google products come back with a fairly high incrementality. Non-branded shopping is always close. Non-branded search is always close to 100%. I heard some clients even see higher than 100%. The shopping products come really high back. So you can trust Google a lot about the quality of their products. In this case, standard shopping didn't disappoint. And of course, we immediately paused everything, switched our portfolio around. We now investing heavily into standard shopping. And we talk about this brand, but I can attest that I have done this with other brands as well. And we see always the same results. The moment you pull back on standard shopping, on Performance Max, you pause it and you start standard shopping, even without testing. You just look at your overall numbers, what's coming in through Shopify, total revenue, total number of new customers, immediately shifts with the switch to standard shopping. And if we compare our results. So we ran Performance Max mainly between August of last year and end of October of last year, and then we ran into the first quarter of this year, which is usually the much lower quarter. It's an online retailer. Q4, Q3 are the really, really strong quarters. We were able to spend more compared to during that time frame, which is a low season. Revenue went up by 9 million or 65%. ROAS increased significantly, and obviously orders also went up. And for us, obviously, as the growth team, the ICPO, the incremental CPO went down, and the incremental ROAS went up significantly. And what I say, like an amazing call out is I don't know on which brands you guys are working, but like for retail in general, Q4 is by far the best quarter. It's usually almost double compared to other quarters when you have Black Friday and the holiday shopping and so on. With the changes we made, we saw the revenue drop only by 3.5% from Q4 last year to Q1 this year. This was an amazing results, and just want to show you how the brand traditionally performed. You see the build up from Q3 and Q4, then you see the drop in Q1. That's happened multiple times for the brand. And this year we saw a significant increase year over year. And if you look quarterly, and only a tiny reduction from Q4 last year to Q1 this year. And Google Shopping drove more than 35% of all incremental orders in Q1 of this year. I want to pause here. Is there any questions, feedbacks, different point of views?
Incredible result. I don't know if you guys are seeing this. Let's just go back to your slide for a second, Daniel. Let's just show what I mean, even visually, you can see the difference.
No, that's not my screen, right?
Yes. So this particular brand, as you said, went through bankruptcy, right? They went through bankruptcy, so there's a lot of weakness in the brand itself. But just by managing the portfolio well, they are now able to grow the brand, and actually have positive results for the P&L.
Do you see it now?
Yeah. You want me to share?
No, I have it now. I was on full screen, and that's why I couldn't share it.
So if you see here, like where is it? Look at Q2 versus Q2. With that growth there. Look at this drop here. So look at Q4 to Q1 drop here, and compare that to here, right? Huge difference, right? That's what we're talking about. They're able to actually, and if you look at Q2 to Q2, huge growth here. So they're able to actually grow the brand just by allocating their investment, the marketing investments appropriately. Not just by, but that's the biggest amount of investment. But a lot of times you don't know how to direct your investments in a way that's efficient and to drive growth for the brand. Now, what Daniel's able to kind of show here is that just by making one test, like making one allocation decision, which is just shopping, like removing PMax and replacing it with standard shopping, they're able to drive an additional 35% growth for the brand, right? Incredible results. Now, obviously, while he's doing that, he's also testing in, I'm sure, Meta and other channels as well. And they're constantly trying to hack growth of the channels by figuring out what's incrementally driving the most efficiency, and piling dollars in a way that's aligned to efficiency of the different channels in the portfolio, right? Great case study, Daniel. Thank you so much for sharing. It was phenomenal to learn about this.
I have one slide, Madan. I would like to.
Yeah, keep going.
Yeah. So one thing is important. If you and your brands are going to do that, if you set your standard shopping, make sure you also get an understanding how much of your standard shopping spend is going to brand and non-brand. You can set up campaigns and separate them. Because obviously, as you have learned probably in the past, is that branded terms in general don't have a lot of incrementality, because people know the brand already. If they know the brand already, it's likely that they shop with the brand, and incremental investment will not increase the likelihood of an investment. So that's important. Yes, as we said, we're turning on the standard shopping, provided immediately positive results. But there are so many other levers you can pull with standard shopping. 94% was great, but we want to keep it like that. Things will change, seasonality change, your products change, your teams change, your agency change. There's lots of changes, but there's still lots of optimization you can within standard shopping. Can optimize your feed, set up like separated like by category, by revenue or whatever. You can do that. Product page updates, category breakouts, and so on and so forth. So there are even more levers you can pull. And the last point is really important. I mentioned it before. Performance Max results have been awful. I want to say it like that. What we have seen and what I have seen with other brands as well. And it's pretty clear, if you look through all performance advertisers, that's unfortunately not working yet. However, the idea behind it is amazing. Facebook has all the users that like everyone searches. Yeah. YouTube has been, I think, bypassed. I forgot when, was like as the biggest search engine a couple of years ago. I said more people searching on YouTube than on Google search, actually. So they have the audiences, they have the data. And they have the capabilities of actually delivering a great product. So I would check in with my Google reps regularly and check in if there's like, hey, are there some significant improvement? And I will constantly test PMax at least once or twice a year to see, hey, have things have changed? Can we actually run this right now? That's my final word on this case study, Mada.
That's right. Strong opinions, and I almost certainly second everything you said. It also shows you how, as a veteran growth marketing professional, Daniel's not writing off a particular vehicle. He's like, it's not working, but I expect it will. I'll give it a shot every 6 months, maybe come back to it and test it again, see if it actually has new improvements that are worth kind of including in the portfolio, right? Great example of how growth leaders approach mixing their portfolio and managing the portfolio of investments. Let me pause right there. Any questions for Daniel? Who's managing media in this group here? Who's got their fingers in the pulse? Who has at least a say on where the budget should go within the portfolio?